Good morning. So I see are most of you not drink alcohol? Or are you like me, you just stick to like the vodka Diet Cokes because you know that you need to wake up at like 7 in the morning without a hangover and a sugar rush? Thank you for turning up so early. Yes. Really, thank you so much. It means so much to us. We were all out until I was out until 1. I heard 2 o'clock here. 3.
I was in bed before midnight.
And we have someone that's really sensible. So listen to all of her advice because it's going to be bang on. Okay? So we're going to be talking about showcasing today. We've got some amazing showcases from Europe and Canada on the panel today. We're going to be talking about, who they are. I'll do a quick introduction about who I am. Some of you may have met me yesterday where things between me and Mikey got a bit... and we're going to be talking a bit more, focusing a bit more on artist responsibilities, communication, and how you can make the most out of your showcase and opportunities that we also provide as well, and how you can make the most out of those as well. So first of all, I'm Umong. I help run a showcase in Sweden called Future Echoes. I know some of you have a meeting with me later on. It is a new showcase in its second year. We programmed just under, I think this year was like 50 to 60 bands, but definitely over 100 shows across 6 to 7 venues. And we have a showcase during the day, a writing camp that happens the week before. There's no application for that. I purely A&R it, so if you're a songwriter, you should become my best friend. But that's run by myself, 2 publishers, and a sync agency. And we got 3 syncs, 2 publishing deals signed, and I've started managing one of the acts. So there's a lot of stuff that comes out of that. That's just my showcase. One by one, if you could introduce yourself, what you do, where your festival showcase is, and if it has any USPs, what's its USP? Unique selling point, by the way.
So, hi, I'm Paulina. I'm running the conference at Waves Vienna. It's a showcase festival. It's been around for like 12 years now. It's in Austria, and we also have this conference part and to showcase the festival part. And I think one of the main goals for us is to bring people together from Western and Eastern Europe. So East meets West is kind of our goal, and you can meet a lot of industry people from Czech Republic, Slovenia, Slovakia, and of course Austria, Germany, Switzerland there. So that's it.
Great.
Hello, good morning. Hello, Edinburgh. I'm very happy to be here in the panel and first time in White Days, so thanks for having me. My name is
Thanks for bringing the sunshine, by the way.
What's that? Oh yeah, I brought the Spanish sunshine. My name is Cesar Andion. I'm PR and talent from Live Nation Spain and head of a couple of conferences in Spain that we run, one in Malaga called Andalusia Music Forum, and one that is going to happen in Madrid under the umbrella of the Mad Cool Festival that's soon to be announced, actually. And also run and lead the project Spanish Wave. There's an export project. It's not an export office. It's a private export project run by Live Nation Spain with the support of different agencies like the Spanish PRS, the Artists Association, the Spanish Language Institute, etc., etc. And it's been happening before the pandemic. And we bring showcases and Spanish artists all over the world. Like we closing a deal with Vienna Waves, and we've been in South by, Reaper Band, Greyscape, Focus Wales, many, etc., etc. So we just give the opportunities to Spanish talent to go overseas and showcase in front of international people everywhere.
Amazing stuff. Now we've got a bit of a legend here.
Hey, my name is Mike, or Michael, or Mikey. Mikey B. Rishwain, or Mikey Bernard, or that's enough. I'm from Northern California, Stockton, home of Pavement, Chris Isaac. I'm based also in Montreal. My dad's Canadian. And I moved there in 2007 because of M for Montreal had just launched the previous year. It was co-founded by Martin Elborn, who co-founded The Great Escape. He was a booker at the Glastonbury. He founded WOMAD with Peter Gabriel. So he started them from Montreal after being drunk with my my boss, and it went off. And so far, so good. And we focus on exporting Canadian music. Our success stories has been Grimes and Mac DeMarco when I met them when they were living in a closet. And now they, wow, good for them. But that's what we like to do. We like to bring artists from the ground up, and we bring them all over the world like they do at events like today. We have a showcase tomorrow, and we do this at the Great Escape, at South by Southwest. I can go on and on. So it's an all-year operation where we're not only helping Canadians, but we're opening the door for international export offices to come through and give us a little taste of their country. And it's cool because in North America, you only have South by Southwest, and it's kind of a jungle. So we took that format and made it much smaller, where you can meet everybody and be very productive and get a lot done. And it's a gateway to North America because we bring out a lot of Americans because they're right below Canada and they're too lazy to come here. It feels like they're just too lazy. They stay in New York and LA, but Montreal is, it's right there. It's a cool, sexy French town. I'm going to go. So it's a great way to bring out your artists so you can play in front of 15 different countries, a delegation of 15 different countries. I spoke too much. Thank you.
Nice talk, Mikey. I'm Charlene. I am from Belfast in Northern Ireland. I work for the Ouya Music Centre. The Ouya Music Centre is a charity. It was established in 2007, and our charity ethos and what we're there to do is create an open doors to music. So it's a very physical building, occupying 3 floors in the centre of Belfast, and the reason why it came into being, the actual building, was because Garry Lightbody from Snow Patrol and an ex-NME editor, Stu Bailey, who are from the north of Ireland, kind of figured that there was just nowhere to be, nowhere to hang out for musicians, nowhere to kind of go that wasn't like a late night bar scenario. So they created the Ouya Music Centre. A big part of what we do is trying to reduce the friction on access to things that musicians need. And part of that is our showcase work. So I curate the Sound of Belfast Festival, which is an annual festival, and it's kind of flip-flop between being a 7-day to a 10-day event every year. It happens in November, midway through the month, and we put on events in venues as big as the Ulster Hall, which is kind of like our iconic venue space in the city. It's kind of got the beautiful grandeur of building like this. It's about 1,200 capacity. Right down to like 50 capacity shows, and I curate on that, and the curation of it is a gentle balance between trying to promote artists within Northern Ireland to bigger audiences within Northern Ireland. We get a lot of people coming to Belfast now because it's the showcase itself has like the kind of jewel in the crown moment, which is our Northern Ireland Music Prize, which is the equivalent to the Welsh Music Prize, Scottish Album of the Year, Mercury's, like it's our regional thing. So with our showcase, we add to that like a conference element, but it's about 90% about staging and creating live performance opportunities for artists of different levels, and about 10% of like conference networking. And there's another festival called Women's Work Festival. We're pivoting the festival at the moment, but that's been running for since 2015, and really clues in the title. It's our like work in action to deal with the gender disparity issue, because in my work I come to face with a lot of aspiring artists at different levels, and I never seen a shortage of female artists, but I did see a shortage of opportunity. So our festival kind of stood up to go, well, we're going to create the opportunity because we know that there's talent there wanting to get the opportunity. So yeah, we work outside of Northern Ireland. We have a stage at the Great Escape Festival. And, you know, a lot of our artists that we develop up through our showcases and our other talent development work throughout the year will go on then to perform at South by Southwest and various other festivals. So, yeah, it's a little patchwork of activity we do in Belfast.
I think what I'm liking hearing from all of you, and I will big up myself as well, so all of us, is that talent development. I think that was a key word that you said, talent development, and we all do talent development, and we all export artists. We work with each other. I know we've worked with each other. I know you work with Boyle in Bulgaria. We've met each other. We started talking about it. I want to come to Montreal. I love Montreal, and I've never been to Ireland.
Come on over.
There we go. So, but we do work with each other. It's not only for the free holidays, but it is also to help develop talent. But how do they get onto your festival, right? So, what is the application process? Is there a fee? Because we know that some of them do have fees, but and then I want to also, I'll ask it again, but how is your festival funded? Because all of that, it's all part of the ecosystem, isn't it? And the reasons as to why things are the way they are. So, Waves Vienna, how do we apply?
3 questions.
Sorry, I'll start first. How do artists
funded?
apply?
Yeah. We have 40% public funding and 60% ticket sales and sponsoring collaborations with export offices and other international export offices that pays to do a showcase there. And what was the second question about?
I'll
we pay artists. If you get picked and play a showcase at Waves Vienna, you get paid a fee. And I think that's also one thing that's very important. You will have expenses, so it's also an investment on the artist side, but you get paid. And applications are open. You can apply for playing at Waves through the website, but you can also, Stefan is one of the bravest booking agents, my colleague who does the booking for Waves Vienna, because his email is on our website, and you can just send him an email and reach out to him directly. Yeah.
That's brave. Yeah. That's very
it
brave.
Is.
Yeah, well, with the Spanish Wave project, we work tight with the festivals where we bring the showcase. So it depends on the festival protocols or rules. Normally, we do open calls through the platforms of the festivals. For example, when we announce Vienna Waves Showcase, we will announce an open call, apply to play, and it will link straight into the festival. So it's very democratic. So when they close the open call, they will send a list of all the Spanish artists' applications, and we do kind of a filter before. Obviously, we know the scene better than maybe the Austrians. Depending on the slots that we have, probably 3 or 4 artists for the showcase. It's always very, very easy to decide and select the artists. It's always like with the programmers or the talent bookers of the festival, the selection. We were talking upstairs. For us, the goals and the main points for decide and selection of the artists is quality. Quality goes first. On top of that, the DNA of Spain is we are like 5 or 6, 7 countries in one country. So with all the regions like Catalonia, Basque, Andalusia, Galicia. So we are quite diverse. So we really want to also show what is happening in the different regions of the country, different languages as well. We have the Basque language, we have the Catalan language, we have Galician language. So we're open to all the languages and artists from all over the country. Also, we try to show what is happening in the country, because every country has their own genres or what is cool and hot in the country. For example, like urban, like trap or reggaeton is quite big in the Latin countries. So, and because our cultural connections with Latin America is happening, and it's big audience in Spain. So we don't select what we like. We select what we want to showcase overseas, and where we think it can be exportable.
That's great. So what I really like about yours is because you have so many different languages, you have to cater for the different communities within that. Similar with yours, where you're talking about females in music as well. It's all about community. I think that's something that we're all about, is what your local community is and what that local community is striving for. What about M for Montreal? How do people apply?
Yeah, it's the basic standard apply. It used to just be me going around till 3, 4 a.m. discovering bands and choosing on my own. But now we a little bit more, I don't know, we're open to everybody. It couldn't just be me deciding, so we make it fair now. So I have a few people who work with me, and we just vote on who we think should be selected. It's all about, of course, export ready. That word's big because we don't want to put anybody on stage who's unprepared, especially without a team. It's a little harder for us to book an artist with no team. It's happened before, and actually, I support artists with no team because that's what we're here to do, is to help you find that team. So it's like a 50-50. I don't get why they want us to have export ready while we're trying to build them up to be export ready. So I don't know about that. I just go with my gut feeling. I like to meet the people behind the artists, and I get to know them, and that's it. It's just a very simple process. And as far as the funding for the festival, we do have provincial and what's the other word? Provincial and federal for funding. So we have Quebec and Canada, like Factor, SODEC. So we have our own funding. We do have some private funding as well, and of course ticketing. I never really think we make a lot of money. Actually, for years we just lose money. But it's all about we're doing something right. You know, we need to do this. So yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yeah, that did. That perfectly did. What about your works? Because you've got several different works.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk, applying for them from this level, are they the same, different platforms, or how are you actively booking acts?
Yeah, probably giving myself a lot of work, because I too put my email address out and make it widely available, and you do get a lot of emails through. So like what tends to happen every year is somewhere around now, our social media will start to activate with, we're curating for Sound of Belfast. If you've got something or an idea you want to talk through, get in touch. That leads to my email account. I spend a lot of time sitting down talking to people, but also that kind of serves the role that I hold overall. Ultimately, my job is to be across what's happening in Northern Ireland, and where we can be involved in helping it happen better. So I like Sound of Belfast because it brings to the fore some stuff that's maybe quite new that I'm like, oh, I need to know about this. I'll meet the band, I'll sit down for a chat and see what they're trying to do and gauge what level they're at. So it's actually quite a personal process. So it's not an application process. There's certainly no kind of like payment or friction there. It's just like, let's figure out where you're at, what you need. For some people, that's like, I just need a gig. We're like a new band or a new artist and we need to get out there. So I'm like, right, cool. We've got a 50 capacity venue. Your style is this. And then I do the matchmaking process to try and curate a bill that I think would be complementary, that people might be interested in, buy a ticket and come to. Sometimes you'll get artists who are a little bit further down and they're like, listen, we've sold out 300 capacity, but we want to do that 500 capacity. And we want to do it with a little bit of ease, and we need your promotions muscle on it. And sometimes that's the easiest shows. You're just like, yep, no problem, we'll support this, put it out on our wider networks and help you close that gap and level up a little bit. So you get a range of different things, but it is quite a personal, almost matchmaking scenario. We have a showcase that we do within the Sound of Belfast every year that is attached to the talent development work that we do all year. So I run a program that lasts 9 months every year, and we take on 4 to 5 emerging artists that we see export potential in, right? We see that they're not there yet, but with the right support they could get there. So those 4 or 5 artists will showcase as part of Sound of Belfast, and that event and a few others are the ones that we invite industry in, because we're like, here, there's something ready for you to look at. And those events are really, really important in the kind of core of what we do, because we're trying to, make the point that with the right support, artists from Northern Ireland and artists from anywhere can get out and make this sustainable. That's why we all do what we do. So in terms of funding, we are supported by the PRS Foundation and would be lost without them. Their money goes directly into the pockets of the showcasing artists on some of our events, but not all of them, right? Because of course it couldn't. Sound of Belfast runs for 10 days. Last year we supported, about 300 individual musicians. Not all headline artists. Some of those musicians are the session player that's playing guitar for the person who's performing. But so yeah, again, how the finances work on shows is down to me trying to figure out the nucleus of like, well, what is it? So in some events, artists are like, listen, we can do this on box box office, we just need your help with promotion. Other events, I'll literally look at their cost sheet and I'll be like, right, I can take away your sound engineer cost. I'll cover that. It's 150 quid, but that gets them closer to having more money on the box office. I don't get us involved in blind optimism shows because for our brand, it can't work. So again, you've got this really emergent artist. They're a little green. They want to do like a 200 capacity venue, but you know that that's probably not going to happen for them. We don't want to expose any artists to risks or lots of effort that they get very little in return for. So we try to guide as much as we can and use our knowledge. So yeah, PRS Foundation are key supporters of what we do, YouTube Music. And then the Northern Ireland Music Prize gets a whole wave of new kind of external support on top of their support because it's a big, beautiful event and lots of other people. Our tourist board help us to bring in reviewers in some industry because again they can see the value of people coming in, seeing what we're all about and then going and talking about it external to us. So it's a patchwork again as to how we fund it. And I'm always aiming to get artists close to the Musicians Union payment model, but it's really hard, right? So you're talking about 130 quid or thereabouts average for a performance. Like for artists who are just starting out, to achieve that, if you've got like a couple of musicians on stage and nobody's ever heard of their music and you're trying to keep the cost of the ticket low so people might just try it, it can be really impossible to do that. So we're just trying to be humane and build towards those things where we can. But yeah, artists get paid at Sound of Belfast. That's really important to us, that there is a payment, even if it's smaller than what we'd like at the start.
Yeah, I think that's really good, and I think you know, the reason I wanted to go into like why everyone or how every festival is funded is because that does dictate how a festival is going to be paying an artist. And White Days is really good at paying artists. I think they give £250. I know they did it when I had an artist showcasing. It was £250 going towards travel. Most of the artists are Scottish, so £250 can actually cover that. So, you know, you're not losing much. But at the same time, like we said earlier, it is an investment, though, into your own career. Just like many of you have invested in purchasing a conference ticket to, you know, meet us lot. Hopefully some of you got opportunities. I see we've got Midnight Ambulance there. They came to Sweden, and you came out with a booking agent, a promoter, and Sweden isn't cheap. I mean, that's why I work for a Swedish company, because A, they pay loads of money, which is great, but also, you know, they pay for my cost when I'm out there. I mean, a beer is like £12 over there, right? But just moving on a bit further now, we want to talk about communication a little bit. We're all talking about this, and this is almost going to be like therapy now for us, okay? Communication between artists and the event, right? First of all, I want to thank the White Days team here, because communication from their end has been fantastic. Can we just give them a quick round of applause? Just because, and Magic's out there somewhere. Magic's been great. He's made me feel really well. He made us feel really well. He got you food the other day. It was brilliant, right? But communication from showcasing artists to showcases can sometimes go right. What are your pet hates about communication from artists, and how can artists rectify them? Let's start with emails, because two of you have email addresses out there. Let's start with the emails. How should someone email you?
Wow, okay. I think, right, we are all in the act of trying to help artists professionalize and make themselves sustainable, right? Yeah. So what pet peeves, and I'll talk about the email stuff, is like, I just feel like if you want to be seen in that place, you need to kind of make sure you do all of the actions, right? And sometimes it's really simple things that artists slip up on, like looking for a show and not having simple things like show specs or whatever. So like if I book a show, I need certain things from you. The base level is, well, what is it that's going to be on stage? How long are you playing for? Simple things like that. And artists can fall at the first hurdle on that. We can usually work through it if there's good communication, but if I send you an email today and I'm waiting for a week to hear back, or I'm chasing, or the reply all button, going down a sliding scale now actually, but the reply all button is one of the best buttons in the world, but very underused. Just hit reply all, especially if there's a few people in the train. chain, because like if we've agreed that we're going to do a show, usually what will happen is I'll link you in with our technical team and maybe someone who runs our PR and marketing, and I'll ask you to provide your stage spec, your biog, your imagery, and your social handles or whatever. And then if you just reply to me, and my colleagues have been copied in on that, that just gives me more work to do. And I really don't need more work to do, because there is definitely a lot to do. So I think like good communication doesn't have to be perfect, but I think it needs to be prompt. And you know, if you don't have something, you can say, I don't have it, but I'll go away and make it. Like stage specs do not have to be elaborate designs. Like people can just take an A4 piece of paper and like write down X's where people stand and like indicate it. It can be as simple as that. Take a picture off your phone and send it. It just needs to be functional. And if you're amazing at doing like really beautiful technical designs using only digital software, then good for you, but it's not a requirement. So there really is no excuse for not having it. So yeah, and in terms of like emailing and stuff like that, like I do love to get emails with new music. Like again, that is a big part of my function. Like, so I do listen to everything that comes through, and whatnot. But I guess it's important, like if you're emailing people, that you're almost good to define what you're asking for. Some people will just email me just like, oh, listen to the music, and I'll do that, and then I'll move on with my life, and really nothing will happen for either of us out of that. And that's okay, maybe that's enough. But if it's not enough for you, and you're actually emailing me because you want me to listen to the music, and you want to be in consideration for something you know I'm working on, well, just lay it out. Like, just that honesty is appreciated. It gives me clarity as to what you're looking for, and then I can take that forward and be like, okay, well, yeah, actually, that can work, or you know, it can't work, and here is the reason. So yeah, I think when you're emailing people, keep it concise, clean up all of your data or whatever, and whatever you need to have and give them, you've got it on file, but just make your ask really clear. What is it you need from me?
I think that's really good. And that doesn't actually only go for artists, that goes for industry too. I've had another manager email me just going, what do you think about this? And I've just replied, cool. It turned out later that they wanted to book me to book that for my festival. I was like, you could have just bloody said so. Yeah, you're my mate. I would just put it on. But literally, just went, what do you think? I went, it's all right. You know, do its job.
My dad, like, do your research before reaching out to people. Like, make sure you know who you're reaching out to and what you want from, like, those people you're emailing. Like, if you don't do your research, you will be, like, sending out emails and, yeah, nothing will come out of it.
Totally. I mean, we review, obviously, all the applications and applicants. You'll be surprised. You know, people apply for something that they don't know where they're going or they want to go. They just apply, and it's like, I don't know. You're playing, I mean, if the festival is like Afrobeat festival and you're playing post-punk, it's like, doesn't match. Anyway, so, but we, you know, we receive, like, when we select the artists, we send the invitation letters, and then we are very clear, all the production, all the backline, all the traveling, blah, blah, is from the festival, but you keep receiving emails, hey, can you help with this? Obviously, we help. I mean, you know, artists, you know, especially like Mikey was saying, you know, some artists with no team, actually, they work better than with the team, you know? I've seen so many cases because they're investing a lot of personal money to go to Texas or Montreal or whatever, and you know, it's a big investment for young people. We give them the opportunity, so they, you know, most of them, they're investing money from the pockets, so they really want to go there and work, not go on holidays. And another scenario, some bands that they have a big name, and then they go there, but it's cool to go there, and they just don't work. They just go on holidays. It's like you need to be ready. Expo ready is a funny thing, you know. It's just work. You need to be prepared. You know, you just try to find PRs in the country where you're going, trying to like find more shows. I don't know, make the most of it.
It's like when you do South by, like, you know, I think officially you get booked for one show or two shows max, but then it's kind of like your job or your team's job to find the extra 12 shows that you should be playing that time. I mean,
hustle.
You know, sorry, yeah, the hustle. The hustle is real. And, you know, and I think the good thing about all of these locations, and you guys being Scottish, you don't need to pay that $20,000 visa. You know, you can, or maybe not pay the visa and just hope that you don't get caught by, immigration. But you can play shows like, for example, if you play at our festival, Stockholm's only 2 hours away. You can go play in Stockholm. You can then go to Gothenburg. You can play there. You can even go to Denmark if you want to. Go to Norway. You can do that whole tour route because you're there and you don't need a visa. Yes, we do have to do that 30-day thing because of bloody Brexit. But yeah, you can do that. And in Canada, can Scottish people play without a visa?
I think if there's a letter provided saying you're just going for a showcase event, you're not getting a fee.
Yeah.
I think there's some ways around it.
Yeah.
I always tell them to go find your own answer from a lawyer because I don't want to get you in trouble.
No, that's fair.
But
Covey laws here, so they might know, right? I know they're American.
Sorry?
Covey, Matthew Covey.
Matthew Covey?
Yeah, he owns an immigration law firm that does U.S. visas, but I'm not sure if he does.
Probably, yeah. U.S. is the hardest one to get in. I hear people crying over it. It's very difficult.
I've done 2 U.S. visas in my life, and I don't have a single white hair on my body, except for on the 2 on my chin, because of those bloody visas. Because of those visas.
Yeah, we always tell them, don't go in a group like that. You look like rock and rollers, or just split yourselves, hide your guitars.
Yeah. When we went to the visa office to even like get questioned about it, they looked through my Facebook, and then they knew that I didn't like Donald Trump. Just imagine being brown and not liking Donald Trump. How am I going to get in there?
But theoretically, I mean, if you're invited, you're not getting paid. Theoretically, you can go there and perform because you're invited and you get an invitation letter. So it's like America, is, what it's like.
There's only 3 festivals you can do that in America. There's South by,
New Colossus is doing it now.
New Colossus now, and there's another one in Milwaukee. I can't remember what.
Indie Week or A2IM? Is that what you're thinking about?
No.
I can't
remember. Anyway, back to our showcases and not talking about these other ones that aren't here. Bloody bastards. So we talk about emails. We talk about etiquette in emails. One of my pet peeves is an artist turning up without equipment. Without equipment, like what I mean, equipment to make their show work. Because I suggest we're all pretty on the board. Like we said, we give them what we're going to supply. But then they go, I need a keyboard stand. And I'm like, you wouldn't have a guitar without a strap. I mean, keyboard stand is a bit different, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like, has that happened? Like, do you have any experience with that? And what would you suggest to artists? Like, how to be better?
A full backline.
But what is full backline for you? I think that's the
just drum, bass, and drums, drum, bass, and guitar amps, and they have to bring everything else. Yeah.
Quite common, yeah. I mean, they supply the basic backline, no breakables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that at Waves too. Yeah.
I mean, no in South by. In South by, you have to hire your own backline.
Yeah, hire it, or you go onto Craigslist, go to some dodgy house and buy a drum kit.
And it's quite pricey there.
Yeah, it's quite pricey then, and try and sell it again. But what about backline for you? What is, I mean, you got different styles.
Ours is different. So different venues have different things in-house. But yeah, usually I'm the in-between person on that, and I just lay it on really thick on the email. Lots of bold, lots of underline, maybe make the text a little bit bigger. We will not be providing, that type of stuff so that people really, really know. Like, of course, you're going to get instances where bands will just be forgetful, and if they're lucky and they're on a multi-act bill, someone might bail them out by loaning them that keyboard stand or whatever. But yeah, I think all we can do is just really amplify our communication in advance, and then to minimize the opportunity for problems on the day. But problems on the day always happen, but again, I guess you're trying to professionalize what you do. Just get your little toolkits together. If your guitar player have spares, you're going to break a string, it's just a question of when. Have that stuff, just don't leave it to chance, because you get a 30-minute performance slot. Are you going to waste 10 minutes of that restringing your guitar because you needed to spend the first 5 minutes asking for someone to lend you strings? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that is a good point, because we tell the artists, look, this is plug and play showcase. Some artists, especially in Spain, they like to do sound checks eternal. You fall asleep an hour sound check. So it's like, this is plug and play. You need to train that. I mean, I've seen big names in Spain playing in South by and doing terrible shows because of that. because you need to train that when you're in a rehearsal room, like you jump on the stage, plug, and play. You know, it's not easy.
Waves Vienna, is it plug and play, or is it, do you get...
We do have a line check opportunity, like 15 minutes or so, you need to be quick and you need to be ready.
Yeah, White Days is good because they do give you a sound check. They give each artist sound checks. There's pros for festival side. There's pros and cons for both. Having both. I mean, having a sound check is good. It's showcasing. You want to have your best sound. I do think, you know, so that's good for that. You know, you're show ready. You know, you can go out on tours and play venues because you will have sound checks. But when you're on the festival side, like I remember playing Glastonbury. I remember, well, not me, but because I don't play. But I remember my artists, they played Glastonbury, they played Isle of Wight Festival, V Festival, back when it was around, and it was literally just line check. You know, and these are big festivals. Like, the only way that you get a sound check is if you're on the main stage and you're probably the final 2 acts or something like that. So be ready for line checks. Also know the gear that you need. Like, for example, we found out this the hard way. Energy has different cleanliness in different countries. So, for example, if you have a Fender guitar, you need to really make sure it's grounded, because if you're in Eastern Europe, it will be humming like hell. So we were on a festival site because it was using a generator, and that causes, you know, hums and stuff like that. And that does impair your show. In the US, we found some UK gear wouldn't work over there because of how the energy supply is different. So we have to think of many different things, know where you're going and what is happening from a technical level. I've also got to give a bit of a shout out. At the back row, we've got some insurance guys. Put your hands up, insurance guys. They look after me. Go get some insurance, because if your stuff gets nicked, if your stuff gets damaged, you're screwed for the rest of that showcase. And I think you guys do a 48-hour turnaround. Yeah, they're saying yes. But in the US, for example, you can't enter the US without insurance, right? And then if you're working there, you need specific insurance. You can't just have holiday insurance. Is it the same in Canada? Do you need insurance?
I thought you're saying shorts. Like
shorts. Yeah, we established I love clothes. Insurance.
Insurance. Oh no, we don't. No, when we play other countries, we have to apply for insurance liability, but we don't ask for artists to do that at our event, no.
Okay. It's because they're good, they got healthcare. So with showcasing, so they've done their sound checks, they've done their line checks, but what else can they do to make the most of their opportunity at your events?
Do your homework, yeah. Homework, who's going, who do you talk to, what do they do, act like you know what you're talking about, and actually know what you're talking about. Don't act like it, because they'll see right through you. That, and just be friendly, be very friendly to people, and be you, be real.
Yeah, I mean, in our showcases, we normally, as presenters, we normally hire local PR agencies or people, because, I mean, that's why we send in artists to play overseas. They invest in a lot of money, so we want them to come back with a profile, interviews, or networking. I mean, because we are Live Nation, we have the pool to bring agents and important people to our showcases, obviously, because we work with them during the year. So it's like when we send the newsletters inviting to the industry to the showcases, normally it's good turnouts. Also, we have good bar taps as well, so that always helps. Yeah, but make the most of it. We always stress to the artists that this is not holidays. You're here like spending money from your management agency, your record label, or yourselves, or your mom, or your dad. So make the most of it. It's great, you know, going to Montreal and Austin or Vienna or Belfast or whatever, or Sweden. But you have to work. Do your homework before you go. Like contact. I mean, the digital tools. I mean, you can contact the media, the local media, and try to get like interviews, or just, I know it's difficult because in big festivals it's like everybody's looking for the same thing, but just as Mikey said, just be unique. And I mean, this Spanish band I brought to New Colossus last March called Black Maracas, they didn't have a showcase in South by, but they were already in the States. Hey, we're going. And they ended up playing 5 shows in Austin because they were, you know, working hard, and they found like the right people and the right contacts on the field.
I agree, and also I like to add that it's important you think about all of these things before applying. Like, think about why you want to play at Waves, for example. Why do you want to be part of Waves? What do you want to get out of it? Like, think about that before you apply, because when you get picked, then it's a lot of work, and you will need to do, your homework and reach out to people, and talk to people who played there before. Reach out to the festival team and talk to them, like
Or go yourself.
Back to communication.
Yeah, go yourself. Go to the festival yourself first before even applying, making sure it's the right place for you.
And quickly, to add on the application earlier, what we do now is we ask them a lot of questions. Yeah. Why you want to play here? Who do you want to play for? What countries do you want to? Now we have a global view of, like, because instead of asking them too many questions or just letting their application sit there in the cold, we ask them questions. I mean, all kinds of questions, and it's all there. So now we know these guys want to go to this country, they want to focus on agents, festivals, publishers, whatever. Yeah. So that's all set up now for us to see in front of our eyes instead of, that's communication to me. And we ask a lot of questions. Like, I even ask, send me your best live video, because that's important. I want to see it live. I want to know what you're actually playing. And if you've got 3 or 4 views, you're in trouble. So I just, I like to ask everything and have it in front of me so I don't have to run after people. Yeah. And they know now, okay, these people are pretty precise, they know what they're doing, so they know what they're getting themselves into. And we ask them who they want to meet while they're in Canada, and we try to do matchmaking, we call it M4 matchmaking, where we make sure that the right people meet, they ask for it, and we bring out those delegates, and we set up the floor for them. Yeah.
And that goes back to what we were talking about, talent development earlier, right? Like, we're doing the work to try and make sure you're getting the right opportunities, that you're getting matchmaked perfectly. So we need that back from you. We need to know exactly who you want to meet. And also, I really like what you said about the videos. I think, do you guys have videos within your applications as well?
It's my fault. I just had to do it because you can't hide behind that. A lot of great music out there. But it's got to be, presentable, and it's got to be good. And I'm not going to take a chance on a band I've never seen live. I'm not going to go fly to Scotland just to watch one band. So it's easier to have a YouTube video, just check it out, and I get the sense, overall vibe. And we make it. It's a very important decision. I have to see it live or on video.
And that's why some showcase festivals are starting to charge a fee to apply. So because they say that that makes the band serious about it. You know? It's not normally it's $20 or $40. I don't know. But
out of curiosity, if do you think that even if they have a fee, they sometimes, because for example, I go and A&R bands myself. Like, I'll see a band here and I'll be like, actually, I just want to bring you over. Don't worry about the application. Do any of you do that as well? Just wondering,
I've done it. They don't like my work. Doesn't like it when I do it, but when you know it's freaking bomb, you're like, you're not going to miss out on this. Like, I can go on with names that I've done that, and it proved to be very fruitful. Like again, Grimes, Mac DeMarco, they never applied to play. It was just more like a gut feeling, like we need to do something about this before we lose this opportunity. So I used to be that way, but we're trying to be more political with applications, or else I'll remind the groups that I want to book. I'll say, hey, if you don't apply, my work will get pissed, and I won't be able to book you. So I make them feel like, do this or you can't get in anymore. So trying to change the philosophy on that.
So I want to, because we've got a lot of Scots in the audience, those that did turn up again, thank you very much. I want to ask, because we were talking about communities and supporting our own communities within our festivals. Mine's a bit different, even though we have Swedish communities. We actually have more international acts than we have Swedish acts. What's the percentage of international acts versus local acts for your festivals? Because we're talking about quotas. Surely that I know you got to like for you example, Austrian acts have to be presented a lot.
90 acts in the course of 3 days playing at Waves, and about 60 of them are international acts from all over the world. So 60, and about 30 are from Austria.
What about you? Because I know yours is very about the community and supporting that. So I was wondering, what's the international aspect of it?
Yeah, so ours, with Sound of Belfast, right, it's all about supporting musicians from actually all Ireland, but but it so happens that most of what we book is from Belfast or Northern Ireland. But also, Sound of Belfast stands to promote the infrastructure of the city as well, and by that I mean promoters. So we have lots of like grassroots promoters who work in Belfast. So if they book a band from elsewhere during the Sound of Belfast window, that will be in our programme for support, because we're supporting the promoters. Because if they're doing well, then the whole city's doing better. So yeah, so you will find that there's, touring acts that are within our Sound of Belfast programme because they're working with a local promoter who's on the up. So yeah, but I would say it's, at least 90%, from Northern Ireland.
But is there a percentage that you yourself book that would be international, or would you just leave it up to the promoters?
Yeah, just leave it up to the promoters.
Okay.
We just let them do what they do, because it's important we don't kind of bend that. There's a need for more local promoters in Belfast to be taking artists through that early, expensive stage of development. When they need the gig, to learn that they need to go back to the rehearsal space and work harder. You need to have that live experience to know that. And bigger promoters don't want to get involved at that level. So we need our local promoter economy to be kind of working and flourishing. So Sound of Belfast stands to support those local promoters in their work, and we don't try and get in there and say, you need to book this type of thing within that. We just let them do their bit and try and support them.
And I think our festival's a little bit similar. Obviously, that we like Wide Days. I mean, when I first started Wide Days was purely Scottish, and now they're working with, Enver Montreal, with you to get acts from other countries in, which is great. It shows how well it's doing, how it's expanding. But for your festivals, which are bigger, what's the percentage? Do you have a percentage, or like?
I think we try to stick at least to 75% Canadian acts, and then we open 25%, and that goes also for race too. We really we make sure there's enough diversity in all of our lineups. So it's but 25% international, I'll say.
Yeah.
I mean, depends on the concept of the conference or the festival. There are conferences like Ireland Music Week. There's basically Irish music, and I think that's a way to go, because you want to show your own music to the world. Other festivals are different, they're more international. I mean, obviously, the Spanish Wave project is to export Spanish talent overseas, so it's like you have to be Spanish or resident in Spain.
Yeah.
But for example, the Malaga conference, we don't have showcases. We only have like music from the guest country. Like last year was Mexico, so the only music that was there from the country, from Mexico. But for the Madrid conference, it's going to be completely different. It's going to be very international. We're going to work with music export offices, not too many. We don't want the whole United Nations there. We really, exactly. I mean, you see some conferences that have all the flags there. It's like, I mean, we really want to give good service to the 2 or 3 music export offices that are there. And we really want to, this is like a premiere for all of you. We really want to do showcases through record labels presenting, festivals presenting, and from Montreal or Vienna can present a showcase, management companies as well presenting. We want a variety of showcases, so it's up to them if they bring their own local talent or international, so that's our concept.
I think we've got around 10 minutes. Is it 10? Do we have any questions from the audience? From the 3 people that are here?
Come on, Olaf.
No? I know Olaf wants to ask. Olaf, go on, Olaf. Yeah.
Well, whoever is here, we can sign them.
Yeah, I mean, how many artists do we have in the room?
For the effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the sort of thing I ran by other that's right.
Well, so on what Olaf is saying, and it does happen to us last year. This year actually, I did a neurodiversity panel on my conference, which was at 10 a.m. too actually. I thought people would be a bit more sensible because of how expensive the alcohol was in Sweden. But where there's alcohol, there's no sensibility. So, I mean, I'm starting to think maybe I should start programming stuff at 11, but then I know if I start programming stuff at 11, are they going to turn up at 12 kind of thing. Do you guys have this problem?
Yeah, well, I just want to say to Olaf's point, right, because I have this in Belfast as well, and I'm like, get down early. You don't get to be the artist that just arrives before you go on stage and leaves after, and that's enough. Like, it doesn't work. And I see this every turn I take. Like, I was at Ireland Music Week last year, and I was chatting to David, who works for Mute Songs, which is, you know, a massive publishing company. And I was like, what are you hitting up later? And he was like, oh, I'm going to see this girl because she was the only one out of the 50 performing artists who emailed me in advance. And I was like, what are people doing? Like, what is there not to get in that? Reach out to people, especially if, like, you know, David, who's runs an amazing publishing company, is coming to Dublin and you're performing. Like, do the minimum, which would be, hey, David, I see you. I'm putting my music out for you to see me. Like, a really minimal kind of stuff. And yeah, like, I think Olaf's doing great work here with Wide Days, because I've got a lot of emails from bands. They might not be in the room, Midnight Ambulance are, but I've been getting lots of emails from bands going, oh, I'm here at Wide Days and I'm part of it. And that stands the talent development work behind the scenes, because it's so important that artists just get that from the start. It's a human business. It's a connections business. Your live performance could be amazing, but if you're not telling people to get there to see it, or you're not connecting with them outside of the performance, you're probably going to lose out because maybe other artists are doing that. So important.
So just going off on that, what I do like about Wide Days, and we do a little bit of it, but Wide Days definitely does a much better job of it, is the communication beforehand. You know, they had this, we're doing this sink or swim thing later on, but we did this Zoom session, and a lot of people turned up for that, and I thought, cool, that they know about this thing before something's happening. Fantastic idea. We do this thing where if you're a showcasing artist, we had 4 sessions where you can just chat to us, and then we talk about what's expected of you, what we're going to be delivering, and if they've got any like questions about logistics, we answer it there and then. And I do give out my phone number. I give out my phone number quite a lot, which is a bit scary sometimes. But no one ever texts me, by the way. No, Fraser, you're the only one that texts me. Yeah, but no one texts me. I don't mind answering my WhatsApps, right? I'm not going to say out on the mic because that is just weird. But, you know, you can communicate with. Do you guys do anything like that? Like pre-hand, like communicate with the artists beforehand?
Instagram, like they're hitting me up all the time. It's like, I think it's more personal. It shows that they're looking at me, and I could see everything there. I could see their experience on their page. So I like communicating through Instagram. It's actually more fun. If I get a text, I get angry. I don't like people texting me,
I don't have many
especially
friends.
if it's for work. No, I'd rather stick to email and Instagram for work. I think that's appropriate.
Yeah. What about?
Well, like, there was a question down there.
Oh, is there a question?
You did raise your hand, or am I mistaken?
Was it you on?
Okay.
No?
So apparently, no question, sorry.
Great question. Cesar?
Next one.
Yeah, like, I would like to add something about when you want to play at a showcase, you need to make sure it's not your first show. You need to make sure it's not your first live performance. Because I've seen bands applying to showcases and then getting on stage, and it was their first time playing with a band on a stage live. And you don't want to be your first live gig in front of an industry audience. So make sure it's not your first live show.
I've definitely got a story for you, which I was telling these guys actually. So The Great Escape, big, international mini South by, they've booked, and I'm not going to say the name of the artist because they are performing, and I don't want you to go out there and heckle them because Umong told you so. But the artist they've booked, it was an odd choice when I found out they were booking it. I did my homework and I had a meeting with the artist because they wanted management, and I found out that they've never played a live show in their life. And they're playing The Great Escape. They're also offered and this is not part of Chris Cook's panels, it's part of another organization that's doing some panels as well. They're also offered a slot on some sort of like talent development panel because their streams are nuts. But the artist said, I don't know if I can make the panel, I've got to go to uni. And then they go, but you're going to be here for the actual show and showcase, right? Yeah, I might just turn up for my show and then go home. What's the point? What is the point? Again, I haven't come a long way. I've come from London. We've got Spain, Montreal, Belfast, yep, Austria. Spend some time with us. we don't need friends. I need friends. You know, I like having artists as friends. Famous last words. But spend some time with us, chat to us, develop your career. I should have been at some free drinks thing yesterday. I spent it with you, finding out about your music, giving you guys advice. I don't mind doing that. I missed the free drinks. Bit sad about that. But that's what I'm here for, right?
The drinks?
Definitely the drinks. No. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you have any other comments that we can...
No, I think it's a great way to you know, not communicate, but just chill with the people. Like I said earlier, be real, be yourself. Don't look like you're doing a B2B, you know? Just make it natural. Take them to the pub, let's hang out, meet my friends, bring your friends. That's how it is. You just got to make it friendly and just natural, not forced. You sense it when it's forced. But yeah, and I've booked a couple bands on their first show ever. I took it there and it worked, but it doesn't happen often. But by the way, there are some bands that are too good to be true, and if you put them on first, you might get credit for it too. So Great Escape have done that as well, and I was kind of shocked though, because some of them sucked. Anyways, sorry.
I don't have high hopes for this artist, I really don't. Sorry. And there's none of you here, by the way, none of you here. You're all fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, it happens. I remember Rob McGee was around there, but I remember like in Dublin, in Ireland Music Week, I was seeing his band, Thumper, and they blew my fucking mind. And I called Cindy, main booker for Mad Cool, and I said, book them now.
Yeah, I got that's a band right there. You're from no, that was Ireland. You're Ireland. Yeah, I met this band Thumper, and we went out all night. Now we're like friends on Instagram. They talk shit all the time. I love it.
Yeah.
Literally, I was on the show and I was like calling Mad Cool bookers, book them.
Yeah, I did the same thing. They couldn't make it, but yeah, and they were fun. And like I was like, I like this energy. I want to bring this to Montreal. You know.
And before we close this, I do actually just want to make a point as well. It can be expensive traveling to our showcases, but we have where did Wesley go? He was right here. No, Wesley's here in the building somewhere, part of the PRSF. They have an international showcase fund. The application is actually pretty easy, and if you do have trouble writing your thoughts down, you can do a video application. I'm on some of their committees for some of their funds, and sometimes when I get a video application, I actually prefer it because I can I can search their Instagram and everything while I'm listening to their application. And I myself, with artists that I've managed to get the ISF fund like 4 or 5 times. So they don't limit you to one time. As long as it's a different territory, you can apply for that. And as long as you can prove that that territory is right for you and that you're going to excel in that territory, they will fund you. And they do. And I know they do it for M for Montreal. Do you know if PRS have funded acts to go to any of your events?
Yeah, the Spanish PRS.
Yeah,
it's called SGAE, and the Artists Union Association. The partners with the Spanish Wave Project.
Yeah. And then I know that they've funded to go to Waves Vienna.
Yeah, for us it's less important, like for fund, because a lot of stuff is, from around the area. But one thing I will say about the International Showcase Fund, because I manage artists as well. One of the artists I managed applied for South by Southwest for this year, but we applied last year, and then their recording schedule slipped. Various sicknesses, things just didn't happen, and then suddenly our plans didn't hold. Now the offer to play South by Southwest came through, but as soon as that came through, I just got in touch with the booker and I said, listen, all of our plans have changed, this isn't the right time. And the example that I want to highlight in that is, like, you're going to maybe get support from PRS Foundation or someone to go to that festival once, but to get back a second and third time, is going to be on you. So don't just, because you get offered it, say yes. Things could have changed in the interim. Have the confidence to understand that that's a reason to say no as much as it could be a reason to say yes. Just always refer back to why you're doing that festival, what was important, what you were trying to achieve out of it. And if you have to kind of speak to the booker and say, listen, I really want to play this festival, but the time and now is not right, have that conversation, front up, be honest, and I think you might be respected a little bit more for it, because, things do change.
Yeah, no, I agree. I took an artist out to South by, got my first grey hair, got the ISF fund, got all the visas. We needed a visa because we were actually doing tours at the same time. The second time we applied, they did come up to me and said, look, we can't actually fund you. But they did help me get other sources of funding. Like, for example, have we got any other managers in the room right now? So you can actually get money from the, what are they called? Department of International Trade, or they're not called that anymore. What are they called now? Business and Trade. You can get funding as a manager to go out there to help cover costs like your pass. I think you can get help towards flights, not cover all flights. Potentially accommodation. And I just remember, like, I had a lot of help. It started with the PRS, then they navigate me through other funds that you could get to basically reduce costs massively. Now, where you guys are in a good position is that you're Scottish, which means there's less people applying. The thing that sucked for me was there were so many people in London applying that the competition level to get these funds was stupidly high, so I didn't get everything. But because you're in Scotland, you know, they want to share the fund throughout the nation. So there's other things to think about. Get in touch with your funders, help musicians, everyone, and see what access you have to do showcasing. And last question. You can make a comment, you can make a joke. Okay, well, thank you to our lovely panelists. Thank you to our lovely audience even more. Thanks for actually turning up. And thank you to Wide Days for just such a great event so far. And we'll see you later.